Good evening. Today is Monday, May 17th, 2021, and this is a special meeting of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education. We have one board member joining us remotely. When the roll is called, please remember to state your location for the record. Roll call, please.
German,
Present.
Evans,
Present.
Terrell,
Present. Romulus, Michigan, Wayne County.
Kennard, Wester is present, and Piles.
Present. We have a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I move that the Board of Education accept the meeting agenda as presented. Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Roll call, please.
Terrell,
Yes.
German,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Kennard. Wester, yes. Piles,
Yes.
motion carries.
Mr. Cooper, do we have any public comments? That's okay. Okay. Seeing none, we will move into item number 5 on our agenda. We have a vacancy on the Board of Education, and tonight we've called a special meeting to conduct applicant interviews. There are a total of 5 applicants. We will be going through a series of questions. Each board member will have 2 questions, and at the end, we will be appointing somebody to fill that vacancy tonight. So at this time, if all candidates, with the exception of Ms. Darcy, you may be excused into our curriculum director's office. Good evening, Ms. Darcy. How are you?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for your interest in serving on the Board of Education. Tonight, we will go around the table, and each board member will ask you 2 questions and introduce themselves first, and you have the questions to refer to there. My name is Debbie Piles. I am the board president. I have 2 children currently enrolled in Romulus Community Schools, and just our district and our community is a huge passion of mine, and I'm privileged to be able to serve as a member of the Board of Education. Tell us about yourself, and if appointed, what will be your priorities? Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education?
That's a great question. Well, my name is Jessica Darcy. I'm a 3rd-generation Romulus resident. Thanks. Well, technically speaking, I'm a 4th-generation Romulus resident and 3rd-generation Romulus Community School District. My mom, aunts, and uncles have been through the district. My aunt worked for the Board of Education for many years, worked with transportation, so I've grown up within the district. They graduated, my brother and I I'm not gonna lie, I didn't graduate from here, but he did graduate from here. And I have one child that has completed the RAVA, I think it's the RAVA learning program. I have two girls that are, one's currently a senior, she's enrolled in the early college program, and also a senior, she is amazing. And then I have another one who's a junior, who's enrolled in early college and in high school as well. And then, of course, there's Jimmy, there's 1 out of 5, he's my kid, he's awesome. He's different. You guys have seen me in front of you before. His voice, when he can't be his voice, sometimes he doesn't communicate the way he needs to. So that's when I get involved and I follow the steps that I need to, reaching out to his guidance counselors, getting involved and trying to find a path that's right, because not every kid is the same. I have 5 of them, and they're all different, and they're all unique, and you have to find the way to reach him and not give up on them. So that's about me. My kids are the troop. I'm the troop leader. My priorities for if I was appointed, to try and rally the parents. In all honesty, you need the parents to support the children. That's where it starts. And I was a parent who sat back for many years and, oh, the teachers can do this, and oh, the teachers can do that. And in all honesty, I'm blessed that my kids did have some good teachers. Skylar wants to be a teacher because she found safety in the school district. When their father passed away 11 years ago, the school was her safe haven. Now she wants to give back to her community and become a teacher. That speaks volumes to me. Both of my girls have stood up before this board, maybe not all you members, but some of the members, speaking of their concerns for their district, for their education. So, and just to get the parents involved, to be the voice for the kids that sometimes fall through the cracks. It's not always, Jimmy, I love him. He does sometimes have behavioral issues, but it's not always a behavioral issue. It may be something else that is, and he figures out the system. He had when he was in elementary, if you acted up during class, when there was a substitute, guess what you got? You got to go home. Well, let's figure something out. Let's not just send him home and reward him. He still needs his education. Let's work together and figure out what he's doing and how we can. Okay, sorry. So that's pretty much what motivates me is my kids and seeing the education that they get, seeing the level of caring that these teachers have given my kids, and just want to be supportive.
Okay, is that good? Thank you. What do you see as opportunities and challenges in this district?
Okay, there's never a challenge, there's always an opportunity. I don't like to use the word problem or anything like that because it's always an opportunity. You take your weakness and you turn that into a strength. Opportunities, of course, we need. Our teachers are burdened right now. The way they have switched from in-person to virtual, then back to, I get whiplash. But even prior to the pandemic, our teachers had they still have a lot on their table. And they need the support from our community together. Our teachers are phenomenal, the way they step up and go above and beyond. Even for the problem kids, they're not problems, but you know what I mean. Sorry. So of course, and then kudos on the contract, that was amazing. But focusing on our teachers, getting community involvement, getting everyone to buy into the bigger picture. I have multiple kids that graduated from this district that actually work for me. I am a general manager of a hotel, and I'll tell you what, them band kids, they're amazing. You know why? Because our band director taught them, if you're on time, you're late. They are the most punctual ones ever. And just from experience of them working for me, it's been amazing. I don't know if that answered it fully. Sorry.
Thank you. Ms. Terrell?
Okay, hi, I'm Denisa Terrell, and the question I have is, when do you believe the board needs to make decisions versus the superintendent?
Number 3,
That's okay.
When do I believe the board needs to
It's
make
okay, that's
decisions
her question now.
versus the superintendent? sometimes an individual, being a leader myself, sometimes I may not always have all the pieces to the puzzle. So I lean on my department heads to guide me with the information, and I stand by their decision because they're my team for a reason. And if the board makes a decision, if the board has to make a decision versus the superintendent, I'm sure that the board is doing it with all the puzzle pieces in place, with all the knowledge that the superintendent may not have at that time, or they may need to act quickly.
Sorry. Hello, I'm Ursula Wester. How are you? Thanks for being here. I am now, okay. What is the responsibility of an individual board member, the board as a whole, and the superintendent? I'll read it again. It's 3 different questions. What is the responsibility of an individual board member? The next one is the board as a whole, and the responsibilities of the superintendent.
The responsibility of an individual board member to me means that whether it be a committee that you're working on, budget and finance, or working on curriculum, that you have the focus of the district and what the district's vision is. And hopefully we all have the same vision in place for the district. The board as a whole, the common goal should be to further our students' education, to make our students first. And besides our students, our teachers, and everyone, who from the lunch ladies to, the board as a whole is to look at the whole entire district and make sure everything's working together like a clock. All the gears have to work together. The superintendent oversees everything and guides as needed.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Mrs. Well, I can't say Mrs. German. I'm Nicole German. I have number 6. Oh, I'm sorry. Once again, good evening. I'm Nicole German. Should I go to number 5? Yes. I can do 5. Okay, I'm Nicole German. I'm the board trustee. I have question number 5. Ready? Number 6. Oh, okay, number 6. If the board is presented with a potential district program, describe what you'd look for to decide if it should be implemented. I'll repeat it. If the board is presented with a potential district program, describe what you'll look for to decide if it should be implemented.
Oh, goodness, district programs. There's so many of them. I miss Bright Futures. Oh, my goodness, I miss Bright Futures. I would, for a program for the district as a whole, let's see what benefit it has, not only for the students, but for the community. Are we going to get the parents to buy into it? Are the teachers going to be on board? What involvement are we going to get from the community? What gains are our kids going to have educationally, socially? There's so many different things for programs that are out there. Is it going to be health-wise? I'm sorry, I have questions. And what questions are, because some kids can't always get vision or their eyes checked out. So is it going to be like the Lions coming in doing eye tests? And how can we show that this is going to be a great improvement? Maybe Johnny can't see this chalkboard, or I don't know what they have. I'm old, I'm sorry.
All right, I have question number 3. I'm Sue Evitz. Nice to meet you. What qualities do you exemplify that are aligned with the vision of the district? And what would you expect the superintendent to provide to you, to provide to the board in weekly updates or meetings in order to further that mission?
What is the board's current vision that's on record? I'm sorry.
Our current vision is to educate students in an innovative way that prepares them for their future, whether it is post-secondary education or trade or,
Gotcha.
yes.
All right, I just wanted to make sure, sorry. Do I exemplify they're aligned with the vision of the district? I can speak for the way I raised my kids, and that would be their education, and it's not just education. I have a son that's in the Army. He, unfortunately, education wasn't his thing. He's the kid that you had to kick a few times to get up and going. So my qualities, I would say that I don't give up on them. There's no such thing as giving up. You find a way to make it happen and to make it work in what works for them. Not all kids are going to be college bound. There's trade schools, there's welding, so many different things out there. Aircraft mechanics are shorthanded right now. There's so many different things kids can be getting into. You don't just need a degree to complete things. What do I expect the superintendent to provide in board or weekly update or meetings in order to further that mission? I would hope the superintendent is being involved with not only the scores of testing, because some of our kids don't always test great under pressure. They sweat. It's not always good for them. So look at other things besides the numbers. When he comes to report, I would like to hear what activity that he seen or was involved in, whether it be a spelling bee or a track race. What did he get involved with actively? What is he personally doing with our district as far as involvement from his level? Because far too often, some superintendents aren't actively involved, and they just wait on the reports to roll into them.
Thank you. Number 7, given all the issues that arise, how can the board stay focused on student achievement?
Remember, they're the reason why there's a board to begin with. If we didn't have our students, there wouldn't be a board. And far too often, we get caught up in the day-to-day and forget the reason why we started to begin with.
I'll get used to this yet. Number 8, when is it appropriate for a staff member to come to a board member or the entire board with a concern?
I would assume after they followed the proper channels, chain of commandment, whether they went through their assistant principal, went through all the proper channels. If they felt uncomfortable and they weren't able to reach that way, then hopefully they could approach one of us to have their concern brought up without worry of retaliation.
So am I going? Am I number 9?
Think,
Number 9 is
no, Ms. Terrell.
Ms. Terrell?
9.
How would you determine budget priorities?
Budget priorities, it not only does the squeaky wheel get the oil first, but you want to find what's going to have the most impact, what is most concerning. Is it the leaky ceiling, or is it the kid not having a desk to sit at? What's most important? And start at the top of the list and work your way down. Sometimes things may jump on the list because you weren't expecting all the lights to go out or an electrical problem, so now you have to call an engineer and you have to adjust it. But you want to take care of the top priority items first, which is going to be related to the safety, making sure that our kids have the items they needed to succeed. One of my slogans with my team, how can you succeed if I don't provide you the tools you need to succeed?
Thank you.
Number 10, what changes should be made on the state and local level regarding public education?
Unfortunately, I am not a fan of testing. I have a student who is bright as bright can be, but when it comes down to testing, those jitters get her, and I don't want her just to be known for her testing numbers. Let's get her known for the active work she's doing within the community. Let's get her known for helping out the kid who dropped his books in the hallway. There's more to our students than just numbers. We have to teach them compassion. We have to teach them responsibility. There's more to school than testing.
Okay, number 11. What do you think should be done to recruit students who reside within district boundaries but are not attending Romulus Community Schools?
Oh, I can go on that for a minute. Get to know them. Have our kids out there getting to know them. Have our kids that are our brightest and best out there actively recruiting. They're out there playing with them at the basketball courts. They're at the rack. Our kids are involved with these kids. Even though they go to one of the charter schools or they're in another district, our kids are still actively involved. If our kids are going back and singing,
Wave your arms. There we go.
or sing it, but our kids are our brightest voice. It's all good. We can do a dance-a-thon next time. But our kids, I use my kids in all honesty. I have parents in other districts. What's your kid doing? Oh, mine's going to graduate at 18. When she's 19, she's going to have her associate's degree. It's already paid for and everything. It's through our district. What? Yeah, seriously, you guys should check it out. Because we are an open school, and then we have tons of kids that leave us and go to another district who actively is recruiting ours. I mean, how many postcards do you get in the mail from another district? It's crazy, but our kids, what are we doing for them? We're not reaching out to them. We're not getting our kids involved. Have an open house and there's stuff we can do to get them here. We just have to show them what we have to offer. When they see what we have to offer, it's hard to walk away.
Ms. Darcy, last question. Can you hold the superintendent accountable for student success and staff performance? Now, how would you accomplish it?
To an extent, you can hold him accountable. He's in that position for a reason because he has the knowledge on how to guide and lead. If our teachers are not being guided and led properly and given the proper direction, then how can they pass that on to the students? The student's success, it does fall back on the student at some point, but it goes to the teachers, and the teachers look to their leadership, which looks to, so it all falls on him, but he has to set the example and make sure that he's holding himself accountable for it, because if you hold everyone else to a high standard, you better hold yourself to that standard as well. And as far as accomplishing it I'm sorry, but it's not just a board, it's a team, and everyone is on the same team. We're all here for the kids. We're all here to make sure that everyone's on the same page. It takes a village. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jessica. That completes the questions that we have for you. Do you have any questions for us? Okay. No, that's fine. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your interest. And, yeah, you can go back with the other candidates, and we will then appoint somebody this evening. Thank you again.
Said, I'm sorry. The rating is 1 through 5?
I know, I thought Paul had saved it, and she didn't, so she just did this real quickly, so I'm thankful that she did that for us.
No problem. It's just taking me a minute to go back and pull my stuff in. Sorry.
Hello, Ms. Akim. The questions are there in front.
All right, thank you. Do you mind if I take my mask off, guys?
Oh, that is fine.
Okay, thanks.
And thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for your interest in serving in this capacity as a member of the Board of Education. We will go through and introduce ourselves, and each board member has 2 questions each. And then at the end, if you have any questions for us,
Okay.
you may ask them. So, tell us about yourself, and if appointed, what will be your priorities? Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education?
Okay, well, I am Deidre Zakim, and I thank you guys. It's not very often in life that we get a second chance like this. And I'm very, very grateful that I have such an opportunity. Well, I am a wife. I am a mom. I'm a grandma. I am a Sunday school teacher. I am an advocate for kids and education because that is the fuel that turned my engine. I don't know if you guys have ever been told, but my grandmother told me when I was a little bitty girl, once you get an education, nobody can take it from you. And of course, when I was a little bitty guy, I didn't even know what that meant. But, as a mature adult, surely it is what fuels our world, not just our state or our country, but the world. Our society doesn't value it the way I think we should. I think entertainment and sports kind of outweighs us sometimes, but we know, those of us who have a passion for education and children, that education is the key to any type of success. Okay, and the question is, what are my priorities if I'm appointed? First and foremost, I am committed to public education. Public education certainly have me sitting where I am today. And as such, I would advocate not just locally, but you have to advocate on a state and national level. My priority is to certainly ensure that in any way I can, that the students are educated and become productive citizens in society. Because educators, our responsibility is to promote students to be functional citizens in society, and certainly as I get older, I do want that to happen in a successful manner. So, and what motivates me, this is the time in my life where I am so very blessed, where I can work if I want to work, or I don't have to work. Certainly, it was not the plan, but God just blessed me to the point where I could retire at the time I did, and although I'm very much involved in the educational process, I'm working, and it's kind of twofold because I am a tax assessor, so I know the educational side as a retired educator, and I also know the impact that property taxes have on education. So I kind of know both spectrums, and as a tax assessor, certainly, who would ever thought 30 years ago that I'd be doing this, but I have gone to school, and I am a certified Michigan assessing officer, so I know how it impacts education, and all of that put together just motivates me to say, I can do this. I know I can, and I know I'd be a very viable candidate to serve on the board because of my background in education as well as assessing and just the love for education. Because I mentioned before that I don't in any way have any shame to say that I'm a child of poverty, and education was everything we had to be when we were growing up. You know, our parents were like, you will go to college, you will do well in school, you will be disciplined. And despite the fact I was poor and didn't even know I was poor, I understand it. It all came together, you know, full circle as an adult, so. Good afternoon. Okay. Good question. What do I see as opportunities and challenges? Certainly, we're in the midst of COVID. Prayerfully, we're on the downside of that. And I think that is the biggest challenge because as an educator, and I will always be, certainly, I think the curriculum will have to be somewhere adjusted because the kids have lost a year. They've lost a year. I think that is certainly a challenge. Technology has been an advantage along the way. It has, it's sort of twofold, where I believe that the children as well as adults, we have become probably way more astute now to technology as a result of COVID. However, the disadvantage to that is we're closing libraries, where it's just, I think technology has taken over so that we forgot about books in our hands. And I wouldn't say I'm old school, but I still like holding books. And I don't think kids I'm sure they don't go to the library the way they used to. They're on the internet. My grandbabies are so technologically savvy that it just kind of like blows my mind, where I'm making sure I don't lose the information. They're just clicking through. So I think it is an advantage and disadvantage. I think the biggest disadvantage is this year with COVID, because our kids have lost out. We can't hold them responsible for not being in that classroom. And that's all I've ever known all my life, that they meet with the educators and they're educated as opposed to being online. And so I think that's the biggest disadvantage, that somehow we're going to have to rewrite the curriculum, or I know that getting more bodies in the school, because we need to be able to touch our kids, getting back to the way, I don't think it'll ever be the same again, but getting the kids in the buildings, determining whether will it be mandatory that they'll be vaccinated. You know, that's a challenge we're going through as well. So, and with the variances, they're coming back. How will they be quarantined? Will they be back online? So there are many advantages to what we have gone through as far as technology is concerned, and kids adapt very well to change. I think adults often don't adapt as well. But we have definitely experienced some serious issues with how we're going to catch our kids up. Yeah. So.
Ms. Terrell?
Hello,
Hi there.
I'm Denisa Terrell. My question is, when do you believe the board needs to make decisions versus the superintendent?
Okay, very good. When? Well, the board hires a superintendent. Although there are strategies and goals that are in place, and certainly I'm sure there are metrics that he has or she has to meet. And however, I think the role of the board is to ensure that those things are happening. And if they're not, there are steps to be taken to ensure that the superintendent is doing what he or she is supposed to do. In this case, what he is supposed to do, what he has been employed to do. And so with those metrics, I think there are timelines that need to be met. And if they are not, I think that is the role of the board, to ensure that that happens, because ultimately the students are at hand. The students' educations are, is what's at hand. So if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, he's not meeting those goals or those strategies, those objectives, certainly as a board, we would definitely need to step in.
Hi, I'm going to do question number 3.
Okay,
I'm Sue Evans. Welcome back.
thank you.
What qualities do you exemplify that are aligned with the vision of the district? And what would you expect the superintendent to provide to the board in weekly updates or meetings in order to further that mission?
Okay, that's a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
can you give me the first part of that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 2 questions. So what qualities do you exemplify that are aligned with the vision of the district?
Okay, qualities. I would say that I'm certainly dedicated to the cause, and that is to promoting the education of children. I don't have any hidden agenda. The wonderful thing is I don't know folk, I don't have any political aspirations to be a part, this is all about kids. I have a voice of reason. I know that this is a democratic process, so I don't come with, this is what I think should happen, but there is a majority. I know, as I was listening, there is a quorum, so I would be a part of that. I'm not my own little island. I have the background of an educator of 34 years. I am trustworthy. I certainly exemplify integrity. And certainly I would yield to the majority. And we would move, our students along.
Okay, and then the second part, what would you expect the superintendent to provide to the board in weekly updates or meetings in order to further that mission?
The responsibility, I think, of the superintendent and giving the updates to the board, I'm sure there's an outline or rubric that he has to follow to say, this is where we are, this is where we're headed. And in that, there should be some form of an update weekly to say, this is where we are, this is where we're going, this is the goals we've met, this is the direction we're heading. And from all areas, from curriculum, what's happening in curriculum, what's happening in transportation, what's happening in budget, what's happening in human relations in the HR department, but he is responsible for reporting out in all of those areas. So based upon what the goals and objectives are, we as a board would know what we're expecting, and he's expected to get that to us on a weekly basis.
Hello, Ms. Akeen.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Ursula Lester again.
Yes.
Nice to have you here again.
Thank you.
Mine is number 4. No? Yes. What is the responsibility of an individual board member, the board as a whole, and the superintendent?
Okay. All right, so my vision is that this is a team. This is a team effort. So no individual, neither the board works solely, but collectively. And I think I've mentioned the qualities of a board member individually, that we're working as a part of a team, that we are certainly working with integrity, that we're working with goals and objectives in mind, and we're all going in the same direction. And certainly as the employer, and I'll put that in quotes, of the superintendent, he is also following that. So collectively we can get there, but solely we cannot. We will sink or swim together.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Akeen.
Well, good evening and congratulations.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So I have number 6.
Okay.
If the board is presented with a potential district program, describe what you look for to decide if it should be implemented. I'll repeat it again.
Okay.
If the board is presented with a potential district program, describe what you look for to decide if it should be implemented.
Okay, that's really good. Like, for example, a math program, okay? Well, certainly there would have to be some background information on what that program is. So some people will need to come in and make a presentation, how it would best fit in our curriculum, what is the purpose of the program, what do we foresee down the road, how will it impact our student population, how will it impact our community, how will it impact our teaching staff, our support staff. So there must be, just like as in you guys are probably doing that for me, there has to be some checks and balances, because people do have hidden agendas to say, okay, would you possibly consider to implement my program? And there are programs galore out there, only because I've been a part of that, as an educator, that someone is selling something all the time. So we would have to, if it is math books, for example, that we would have a team to say, okay, what are we looking to gain from this program? And does it meet the needs of our school community?
We are on number 7. Given all the issues that arise, how can the board stay focused on student achievement?
That's really good. Well, that is our number one priority. Student achievement is the number one priority, despite the fact there are all kinds of situations that arise, both socially, economically, but all of that is a part of educating the whole child. But our end goal has to always be student achievement. So keeping that in mind with every decision we make, that is the purpose of our being here as a board.
Number 8. When is it appropriate for a staff member to come to a board member or the entire board with a concern?
When is a staff member? I don't think it's ever appropriate, actually. I think there's a chain of command that you go through. And only because I've lived that, I don't think it's appropriate. I think when you have totally exhausted the chain of command, perhaps. But prior to exhausting you go to your local school administrator. There's a process. You just don't jump the hoops and come to the board, because it would completely bombard the board. And also, when you're dealing with unions, and you just don't, it's not appropriate. I just don't think you ever do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Question number 9. How would you determine budget priorities?
Okay, budget priorities. Well, first of all, there's a budget set up, okay? And from that, first of all, we have to always keep in mind the sinking fund, that there are emergency money for emergency concerns. I do realize that, such as roofing or whatever might come up. However, there's also the general budget, and in working with the general budget, you have to keep that balanced, or else then you will have to go into dealing with the state. So with that, we must meet as a board collectively to keep up with where our budget is, as well as with the departments, to see, how our budget is being aligned, because with a deficit elimination plan is not a good thing. You wouldn't want the state to have to take over your budget. So certainly in that, you have to be abreast of where is our spending. Will there be carryover money? Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Carryover money into the next year, that kind of thing. So it is crucial and critical that we keep up with our budget and where we are.
I have question number 10. What changes should be made on the state and local level regarding public education?
I forgot to say that I'm an avid reader. I read about everything. I don't need, I guess because that's how God kind of made me, but I read everything. So during the time that I last saw you guys, I decided I would just, let me see who's on that State Board of Education, because I hadn't checked in a while. And I think that our board should certainly exemplify all areas of the community. It shouldn't be all educators, or it shouldn't be all business people. I think it should impact everyone. However, I was pretty disappointed that there were not more educators on that State Board of Education, simply because educators have a background, an advantage when it comes to education, just the whole process. So I think that could possibly be a disadvantage. And there was 2 parts to that question, wasn't it? What's changing? Yeah, that there would be more educators on the board regarding public education. Yeah, I just do.
Okay, I have question number 11.
Okay.
What do you think should be done to recruit students who reside within the district boundaries but are not attending Romulus Community Schools?
That is such a good question.
I know.
We have to promote our school district. And let me tell you guys one good example, and I think I'm just gonna go ahead and brag, okay? So, I have 5 children, 3 of which graduated from Romulus schools. And you can kind of do the math. They're all mine. I probably have 47 love children, okay? But I have 5 children, birth children. And of the 3 who graduate, they're doing very well, just by the grace. They're all doing well. One is, my youngest is a business owner. She has a hair salon. We need to get her back in here. She graduated from college. They need to see people who look like them. Bring them back in and invite them to the schools. My oldest child is a Harvard grad. She grew up right there on 4th Street. Praise be to God. She's doing very well. She lives in North Carolina. Get her back in here. My middle daughter joined the Marine Corps because she was so tired of her dad not telling her what to do. So she is a Marine. But I think we should bring them back in. That's one way. I think maybe we should have some sort of alumni Facebook page where they can see. They need to see children. They don't need to see old folk like me saying, well, this is where I came from, Detroit, and I was a impoverished little girl. Oh, that's my grandma. They need to see, some folk their age so they can identify with and get them back in here. To say, you know what, I graduated from Romulus. I remember when my kids were in school, in college, and when they came home, they always wanted to go to the football games. We always went as a family to the football games. And it was amazing to see, despite the fact they were in their 20s, to see the kids who wanted to talk to them. And I think we just have to bring those kids back, purposefully bring them back and see what they're doing. And say, oh, wow, they graduated from Romulus? They certainly did. I was just talking to someone just a minute ago who said, people often say, well, I don't want my kids to go to Romulus. I say, I've never heard that. And as God is my witness, I have never heard anyone. No one has ever said that to me. Maybe because of who I am. But he was saying that they said, well, we're going to go to Canton or we're going to go to Belleville. I was like, well, they have one opportunity to say that to me because they won't say it again when I finish, bragging. We have to brag about our schools. We need to promote them in the newspaper. They need to be on Facebook and Snapchats and all those things that my kids talk about. Yes, that's what they do. That's how they communicate, and that's what we need to be about. Oh, sure.
Last question.
Oh, already?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so, Ms. Sakin, can you hold the superintendent accountable for student success and staff performance? And how would you accomplish it?
Well, he has to be held accountable because that's what his role is as the superintendent. However, I think I'll go back to that. I don't think we are to hoard over him, but we are to hold him accountable also. And there are metrics that he has to meet. There are goals and objectives that has to be met. And the fortunate part is we do have those benchmarks. The unfortunate part is if he's not meeting them, he has to be held accountable. And what that means afterwards, I'm sure there's some system set up to say you're doing this has to be done by this time, and if it's not, there are sanctions that'll happen as a result of that, because that's what his role is as superintendent. Anyone in management, you just can't la-di-da-di and hotty-dotty. There are goals and objectives and metrics that has to be met. So he would definitely be held accountable.
Thank you, Mrs. Akeem.
Welcome.
That is the end of
Oh,
our
good.
questions.
Okay.
So do you have any for us?
I do have a question, and I kind of wrote it down. So here's my question. If I am appointed to the school board, how would my appointment impact the overall goals of the board? Anybody can take on that. No, just because I'm like, when you get a second chance, I was like,
Yes.
let me ask. I really honestly want to know. I really honestly want to know.
Well, so I think that, okay, so we work as a collective unit, obviously, to establish our goals, but each individual brings unique insights and experiences to add to that collaborative process when we're setting our priorities for next year. So if you were appointed, I think it would be twofold. One, you would be part of the team that's working toward the goals that we've already established, but you'd also come with your expertise and your insights and, suggest things that maybe we haven't seen, or ways to do things, or needs that you've identified that maybe we haven't seen. And then we would all work together to, ultimately set those goals.
Thank you, thank you.
Anybody else want to respond to that?
I think you covered it, Press.
Well, that's it, I only had that one, but that was the one that kind of like burned in, because in all honesty, I am so very proud of you, but human nature says, what didn't I do right? It's just human nature.
Sure.
So I was thinking, well, okay, I'm very, very, and I did share that with her, that I'm very proud of her. However, just because of who I am, I was saying, okay, now,
Sure.
my feet too big, or just kidding. But I thank you guys so very much for just a second chance around. I do, and we shall see, right?
Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome,
And,
guys.
and thank you last time in that section for mentioning our millage also. And we were very diligent in trying to continue to get that word out for that final push. And you followed up even that night to ask how we did, and you celebrated with us. So thank you
did.
for being mindful of that and pushing and celebrating with us.
For sure, for sure.
Thank you.
I was just very excited, very excited.
Yes.
Of course, being an avid reader, all of them passed everywhere.
Right.
And that's a wonderful thing.
Yes, yes.
All right, you guys.
Thank you.
All righty, you're very welcome.
Would you mind just leaving those questions on the seat,
Oh,
please?
for
Thank you
sure.
very much.
Okay. All right, my mask. All right, my dear.
Denise, you'll have to send in your scores for Darcy. You can text. We're collecting those first, and then Zakim. Hello, Mr. Heimberger, how are you?
Good, how about yourself?
Good, thank you.
Excellent.
Did you see the questions? there in
Yes.
the- Okay. Wonderful. We're just finishing up some tallies, and then we'll start, so. Oh, it's hot under this. Is everybody ready? Okay. Welcome, Mr. Heimberger, and thank you again for, your interest in serving as a member of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education. Welcome back. My name is Debbie Piles, and we will go through each board member who will introduce themselves and ask 2 questions. And then at the end, if you have any questions for us, you may ask them then. So, opening up, tell us about yourself, and if appointed, what will be your priorities? Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education?
My name is Tony Heimberger. I've lived in Romulus for over 35 years. I went to Davenport College. I studied accounting and a minor in business law. I have been very active in our community, city, and some school stuff. If appointed, one of the priorities is to make sure our kids are taken care of, that they have everything they need for success in the future. I would like to see as one of the priorities is maybe bringing back VOTEC back to our schools for our kids. I think our kids deserve it and give them a fighting chance to get out there and have something under their belt when they leave as a graduate, if they go to college or if they don't go to college, but they have something under their belt for them to use.
Hello, I'm Judy Kennard. What do you see as opportunities? Okay, question number 2. What do you see as opportunities and challenges in this district?
I feel our opportunities is to get more of our students from Romulus going back to Romulus. There's a lot of things I feel we could do to do that. There might be some challenges in doing that because of the perception, but perceptions can be changed at any time through word of mouth, extracurricular activities that we can host people and do things like that to get our people back coming to our schools. We want to make Romulus number 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Sue Evans. Welcome back. I have question number 3. What qualities do you exemplify that are aligned with the vision of the district? And secondly, what would you expect the superintendent to provide to the board in weekly updates or meetings in order to further that mission?
I exemplify, I like knowledge. I want to know what's going on at all times in basically all aspects. So that way, if there's a problem in one area, we can find it faster and do the research to see what we can do to fix it. What I would like to see is for the superintendent, for example, on a weekly, possibly monthly, is bullying. If there's a student that's bullying, the school board should get at least a monthly report of what is going on, or if there's harassment. Where is it happening? Who is the kid? Because if it keeps happening, maybe that kid and the parent needs to come to the school board to have a discussion to stop it. That way it just betters our schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for coming back again. I'm Ursula Wester. I have question number 4. What is the responsibility of an individual board member, the board as a whole, and the superintendent?
As an individual board member, I would say what would make an essential board member would be focusing on serving all the children or kids. Represent the community as a whole and its constituents in there. Be responsible for groups and the productivity of our group discussions and so on as a board. Instead of yelling and screaming, for lack of better words, let's be productive at all given times. The group has to be productive, has to know what is going on. As once the board knows what's going on, Communication is the biggest thing between board members. You have to let, if one has a question, or if all have a question, everybody should communicate with each other so everybody is on the same page at any given time. Responsibility of our superintendent is make sure our schools are running somewhat smoothly, but also keep the board updated as to what's going on. If there's a problem here, let's discuss it, let's find out what's going on. If we're gonna be short here, let's discuss it, find out what's going on. Everybody needs to be on the same page in order to be an effective board with the superintendent.
Thank you.
Ms. Terrell?
Okay. When do you believe the board needs to make decisions versus the superintendent?
If there is a continuous problem and it has not been fixed, the board really does need to step in at that point versus the superintendent. Oh, how would I express it? I mean, everything should be coming to the board from the superintendent. And if something keeps getting missed and missed and missed, the board has to step up and say, okay, we have to take care of this at that point. We cannot miss anything. It is too important for our kids' education that we do not miss anything.
Good evening. I'm Nicole German. Good to see you again.
Good seeing you.
If the board is presented with a potential district program, describe what you look for to decide if it should be implemented.
Depending upon the program. First off, how is it going to benefit our kids? Is it going to help them, hurt them, set them back, or move them further ahead? Then we have to look, do we have the capabilities of doing this program? And then finally, get feedback, put it out there, get feedback from the community and parents. How do you feel about this? What is your thoughts? Because not only does the school board represent the kids, but you also represent the citizens too. So let them have some of an input into our school district, which is better going to serve the kids when the citizens are involved, and parents.
Given all the issues that arise, how can the board stay focused on student achievement?
Student achievement should be number one. That's why it is Romulus Community School. Our kids have to be first. We may have to make decisions somewhere along the line that no one likes, but we still have to,
There you go.
Okay.
we still have to make sure that the students have what they need to achieve any and all goals that they may have. The kids have to have it for themselves. We need to provide that to them.
Question number 8. When is it appropriate for a staff member to come to a board member or the entire board with a concern?
I don't want to say this is a hard one, but to me, first, the staff member should go to their immediate supervisor. If there is no resolve or the situation continues, it's time to come to the superintendent and the board at that point, or a board member, to get it taken care of. But first, their immediate supervisor, and then on up. But if that is not possible, I would always say, you can always have the doors open for any board member to come talk to.
Thank you.
Ms. Terrell?
Make sure. Um, how would you determine budget processes? Priorities, I'm sorry. Budget priorities. How would you determine budget priorities?
The kids would come first. Teachers. Our bond payments. I mean, of course, we have to have electricity, insurance, so on, the basics. But we need to make sure our kids have everything they need first in order for them to succeed.
Number 10, what changes should be made on the state and local levels regarding public education?
As far as state and local, more of our kids in some of their higher classes when they're seniors, some of those English classes, so on, that they are taking should automatically go towards college credits, which would help them be part of the college atmosphere and save them some money and can maybe entice them to do more college for themselves since they already have some credits. Locally, until everything's seen by the potential new board member, just to say, okay, let's do this, I don't know if I could do that. The one thing I would like to see possibly, which I would bring to the board, in the past, a lot of our teachers go out and use their own money for items needed in the schools, in their classroom. I think in the budget, what should happen is they're given $100, $150, $200, come up with an amount that they're able to use for expenses in the classroom each month. That way, they're not taking it out of their own pocket, but let locally start a trend for other possibility for other school districts to do the same thing.
Okay, I have question number 11. What do you think should be done to recruit students who reside within the district boundaries but are not attending Romulus Community Schools? Done to recruit them?
I feel we need to show them that there is a change at the Romulus Community Schools. I've said it before. I have spoke to different people that unfortunately don't send their kids to Romulus schools. They have given reasons why. We need to look at that as a whole, as a committee, something, to see what we can do to change the perception, because it's all about perception. We need to make it so these people feel that Romulus is the best schools, because I want Romulus to be the best schools. As long as our schools are good, we will get more people that want to move to our community, the more students we will have. It goes hand in hand, our schools and our community.
Thank you.
Okay, last question. Can you hold the superintendent accountable for student success and staff performance? How would you accomplish it?
Through weekly or monthly meetings, as spoke about before, we would know where we stand. We also get yearly test results. Have our test scores improved? Have they declined? If they're not improving, then our superintendent's not checking out our staff. And that's what he needs to make sure he's doing, is checking out our staff. Is our schools doing good? Okay, is the superintendent going in possibly and sitting in a class and just seeing what the teacher's doing? Or is the principal? We need to have more one-on-one in the classroom so they know what is going on and make sure that we are getting there, so we are getting the higher test scores. so we can be a blue ribbon school again.
Thank you, Mr. Heimberger. That completes the questions that we have for you. Do you have any for the board?
Yes, ma'am. What is the current total enrollment in the Romulus School District?
I think that we are around 2,200.
Is that down from last year or up?
Well, it's probably consistent with what it was last year. It's hard to tell because we have so many attending virtually, and we've been able to, even as students are geographically located elsewhere, continue with us. So, yeah, I think we're probably, unless somebody has different information, I think we're hovering around 2,200.
I think it's about the same.
Well, let's,
Might be a little higher because 25 is a key number.
It's a key number, but that would be like, if you count in GSRP and adult ed and all of that, it might be higher, but probably for FTE purposes, maybe 2,200 solid.
and what can our schools hold?
Okay, boy. You just, so I believe that our elementary schools are currently operating at 80%, around 80% capacity. Our middle school is roughly at 60 to 70, don't quote me, don't take notes on this, I know we're on the record, but I mean 60 to 70%, and our high school is probably at 50% capacity. And capacity being bodies that can fit in, that's not defined as best class size to effectively reach and teach students. But if you're talking about bodies in a building, that's our capacity.
Okay. The next couple are gonna be probably approximations. What is our current budget for, say, last year, total budget?
Well, our total budget is 30 million. We needed the operating millage to pass. That accounts for a third of our budget. The 10 million, which is our salaries. We currently have extra ESSER funds due to the pandemic, but those are one-time disbursements. So we operate on roughly $30 million.
Okay, and under the new item that President Biden, Romulus Schools is possibly getting $15 million. What is the game plan for that?
Well, that, possibly we are getting that. And there are numbers that we're looking at 13 to 15 million, and that will be dispersed. It has not been dispersed yet. I know a lot of times when those numbers come out, everybody's thinking like we've had a windfall, and nothing's blown this way just quite yet. But those dollars will be coming, we believe, in the future. And though they haven't been allocated yet, we will do that when we review the budget and we determine what programs we need to continue. Other things we might need to reallocate our funds. There's unique needs that have come up since the pandemic. The achievement gap has widened. We have families that, are working, and so they don't have somebody working one-on-one with their child virtually. And other students can come in and take advantage of that, and they have support systems. So as we look at our student needs, when we get them back and we assess what extra supports do we need, our ESSER funds will be used toward that. We are hoping to put social workers and a trauma coordinator in our building so that we can handle the non-academic needs that are barriers to learning, while at the same time working with the academic supports as well. But those have not been assigned as of yet.
Correct. We have to wait for the state legislature.
Right, and we also need to, not more important, but equally as important is not just spending the money when we get it, but taking time to really assess what our student and staff needs are so that we're maximizing the impact of those dollars.
And just, you may not know this one, but I'm just curious. And you'll find out later on why. What approximately is the total electric bill for Romulus Community Schools for 1 month?
It's approximately 2,500 a building. What I've seen on the,
Yeah,
that's what I'm guessing roughly.
Okay. I was just curious.
yeah,
That's
I
all
would guess
have.
it's probably, yeah. It might be more for those buildings that are, yeah, but,
Larger buildings are probably more,
Yeah.
so on. Okay. That's the question.
interesting question, okay.
There's a reason for it.
I know what Merriman averages, that's about, but,
I
yeah.
mean, what?
Madam
Okay.
President?
Yes,
And I guess when you talk about the electric bills and things, if we kind of think about our own homes, those certain several months when it's extra cold and things of that nature, so it may be higher during those times as well as when we use the air conditioning, you may be offset because of that, you know. That's how I kind of look at it from that standpoint. But I believe like Ms. Trustee Evans said, we're averaging right around 2,500.
Okay. If I can elaborate, if you don't mind. Sure. Why I'm asking this question. As I said before, I like VOTEC. Give these kids something to do after college. Our high school is the perfect building to put solar panels on and teach the kids how to work them, how to fix them, right on down the line, and have a whole bank of solar panels up there producing electricity, showing the kids how this is done, and it gives them an education. It would help us save on electric bill, which would possibly pay for that teacher. It's just a give and take. That's the way I do a lot of my things, is like, how is this gonna benefit A, B, and C?
sure.
If that makes sense at all. So, that's the reason why I asked the question.
No, thank you.
I know you're all thinking,
Thank
like,
you.
what is this question? This is weird,
No, I was like,
but that is it.
thank you very much, Mr. Heimberger, and thank you for coming back and for your time and for
Not a problem.
being interested in serving.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You can just leave those questions on the chair. Thank you.
You want me to
Thank
send
you.
you number 4?
Yes, Mr. Jones, please.
Sue, you know what? I apologize. I've been stepping on your toes. Number 3, my questions are number 3 and 9. And so
You're
that's
fine.
why I have been doing that. And I'll be careful from here on out
You're
and
fine.
wait.
No, we're fine. You're number 5 and I'm
No,
number 3, so
Yeah, and
we're good.
Denise, I think what it was is when I sent you your questions, I was on my way out of my house, and I think I sent you one that is numbered differently on the sheet, so that's why, but we're all asking our questions and getting them asked, so
Yes.
it's fine, but thank you.
So this was,
Good evening, Mr. Jones, we're just finishing up our paperwork. How are you this evening?
I am doing great, and you?
Good, thank you. Well, my daughter's watching, she's gonna say, you said good as well. Doing well, thank you. We're going to recess for just 3 minutes.
Which end am I going to?
You got Zakim, this is Zakim. Okay, this is Zakim. Okay? Here's mine for Zakim. So that's, get first those, and then we're done with the Zakim. Heimberger, and these two are Heimberger also. Okay, thank you.
We didn't even want to take minutes, I guess. Mr. Jones, thank you for your patience. Apologize for that interruption. Thank you very much for coming back and being with us this evening. We are glad that you are here, and thank you for your interest in serving as a member of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education. Each board member will introduce themselves and ask you 2 questions. At the end of that time, if you have any questions for us, you may ask us questions as well. Did you, were the questions on the chair for you? Okay, I just want to make sure. So, yeah, you can. So number 1, tell us about yourself, and if appointed, what will be your priorities? Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education?
First, I'd like to say thank you for giving me this opportunity again to come and try to be on the board. My name is David Jones, David S. Jones. I'm a lifelong resident of Romulus. I graduated from Romulus. I'm still involved in the community. My children graduated from Romulus. I have grandkids that graduated from Romulus. I have a special dedication to Romulus because of my background and working with the students and the teachers and different activities I've done in the school to see what's going on. My priorities are, we look out first are the students. We must consider our students, because without the students is our purpose. Different issues that motivate me is when I see our students doing good, and knowing the potential. Back in the 80s, we was a state-of-the-art school. Economically, academically, and sports-wise. So my motivation is to get back there because we have so much to offer. And serving on the board, that's what we, implement things to help improve our school.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jones.
Good afternoon.
Question number 2. What do you see as opportunities and challenges in this district?
Opportunities, one of the main opportunities is more involvement. Going to see what's going on, the different events, sporting events, as regular, just going to see what's going on. Challenges is students' enrollment. Our population has dropped significantly in the last several years. Now, the challenge is to get this back up. What do we have to do to get it up? We've, this is the second meeting for appointing a board member. We lost 2 board members. So we got to implement things to help keep us going where we always can continue to grow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Judy.
That's okay.
Hi, I'm Sue Evans, and I'll ask you question number 3. What qualities do you exemplify that are aligned with the vision of the district? And secondly, what would you expect the superintendent to provide to the board in weekly updates or meetings in order to further that mission?
Well, my qualities is my ability to work with others and my concern and my love for the community. And my vision is to always the students first, to academically, because we are student, like even with athletes, we are student athletes, not athlete students. It's always the education and the academics of the student and the welfare and improving, giving our students what they need. The superintendent is to implement the policies that we set, that the board set, to go out and make sure it's done, to get things to happen. That's his responsibility to make sure, work with the principals, the teachers, to come out, and the policy we implement is for him to go out there and make them work. And far as his updates, the data that's out there, he would need that to bring back to the board to show what accomplishments has been done. We've got to have the data.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Jones.
Evening.
Good to see you again and taking the time to apply. Number 4, what is the responsibility of an individual board member, the board as a whole, and the superintendent?
The board as a whole, basically, since there's only one employee, really, that is the superintendent. Hire, fire, and support the superintendent to set policy, approve budget, and speak up for the Romulus Community Schools to get out and support and build up the Romulus Community Schools. The individual is to carry ourselves and when we go places, build up the school. And if they do decide to go out of school, we got to go to the superintendent so he can inform the principal, so everybody can stay in line. The superintendent's job is to implement the policies that the board set. When the board said to give the stuff for him to do, he makes sure it's done. He's the one that communicates with the principals and the teachers to make sure everything is done.
Thank you.
I think that's me. Hello, Mr. Jones.
Good morning, good evening.
Let's see here. When do you believe the board needs to make a decision versus the superintendent?
when a board making a decision versus the superintendent, in other words, going against the superintendent, is basically what you're asking, right?
No, but let me just repeat it. When do you believe the board needs to make a decision versus the superintendent making a decision?
Make a decision, the board's, the problem with that is the board's policy is to set policy, approve budget, and build up the school, speak for the school. The superintendent job is to make sure that what the board put out there is make sure it's done. Versus the superintendent, unless the superintendent is doing something extreme, I don't see where versus the superintendent. You know, because it's a team. You hire the superintendent, okay, this is what we want. You go do it, superintendent gets it done. If he's not doing it, then that's when the board step in.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Jones.
Good evening.
I'm Nicole German. I have number 6. If the board is presented with the potential district program, describe what you look for to decide if it should be implemented.
First, the effect it's going to have on the students. Because remember, because students is our number one. Second, we have to consider the finance. Is it financially feasible to, if it should be implemented? Because, like we said, first is the students, and then we have to consider, is it financial feasible for the district? Because our main goal is, one motion on the timer. Okay, our main goal is to make sure our students are in order, to see that the finances is right, that this program can be implemented financially. Because if not, it can't happen.
Given all the issues that arise, how can the board stay focused on student achievement?
The one main reason, the way the board's going to stay focused is that we get the data to know how they are doing. Then we can consider it, because without that, we have no idea. We got to be able to get that information. We need information to be able to stay focused, so we know what we're going to stay focused on. And that way we know how our students are achieving, and we know what to work on. But we will need the data to be able to understand what's going on.
Question number 8. When is it appropriate for a staff member to come to a board member or the entire board with a concern?
The board member, a staffer, coming to the board, first they got to go through the chain of command. And if that's not the case, once they get past that, then if there's no other alternative, maybe come to the board then. But first they have to go through the proper chain of command. And as far as appropriate, to me, that's, if you go through the proper channels and the problem is not solved, then the next step up is considered.
Ms. Terrell?
I'm sorry about that. How would you determine budget priorities?
Budget priorities, I feel would have to be considered, getting the data of the schools, the students, how it's going to affect the students. If we need to pass something, first, how is it going to affect the students? How is it going to affect the schools itself? The teachers, we have to consider budget. We've got to consider the salaries, building, all financial aspects to be able to make a determination. You know, just, and priorities, once we make that list, we categorize what is important. You know, and to me, the first thing to be considered is the students. How is it going to benefit and improve the quality of education that we are providing for our students?
Number 10, what changes should be made on the state and local level regarding public education?
Changes on the state and local level. As far as public education, first we make sure it's being done right. Then we got to make sure it's diversified enough, the right diversity for what we have. We have to understand everybody is not the same. Culturally, we are different. So we have to change it where it's affecting everybody equally, where education is the same all the way across the board. And we know right now it's not. So we have to make those changes to be able to make sure everything is even across the board, state and local. We have to get out and push education like it should be. You know, we come to school to learn. We can't compete with no other country, whatever, if we don't have our kids educated right. And that's got to go locally and statewide.
Okay, number 11. What do you think should be done to recruit students who reside within district boundaries but are not attending Romulus Community Schools?
One thing we have to do to help recruit, we have to get out, educate the people, the parents, that we are proving and we are offering a quality education. We have the academics, we have the tools, we have the facilities. You know, we know schools, academics is first, but reality, sports. You got to have the sports and the other, how you want to call it, different trades and stuff, programs to attract out the people to stay within the community. You know, why you want to go across town to another school that you got right here. You know, we have everything here. We got to make sure that we have what it takes to offer them. You know, we can't put them out there. You know, we can't draw a lion in with a hot dog. We got to have a steak. So we got to put the top out there for our children. We have it. That's what we have to do. And that way, once we start offering that, people in the community will see what we have. Because to get the students back, we got to get the parents back. And that's one of our main things. We have to get our parents back, since the parents make the decision where the students go. So we have to offer them something to know that this community is where I want my children, especially since they live in this community. So we have to set the example ourselves first. We got to be the leaders.
Mr. Jones, last question. Can you hold the superintendent accountable for student success and staff performance? How would you accomplish it?
Yes, we can. once we implement policy and what we want, the superintendent's job is to go out there and make sure it's done. How we, accomplishments, see the data that's out there. See, get the statistics of what's been done. That will start showing us, once we have that information, now we know what to work with. Because other than that, we don't know. So, yes, we can hold him responsible because it's his job to come out and implement with the principals and the teachers, make sure it's done. Offer the programs, and we as a whole, we are a team. We support. But he has to have the data and stuff so we can know how to get it done. That's our first thing. And yes, he can be held responsible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones. This concludes all of the questions that we have for you. Do you have any for the board?
Well, last time I was, my concern was how we was promoting the election. And we must have did a good job because it passed. You know, and with the new superintendent, everything, it passed. First time, what, 25 years? Something like that. So things are beginning to look up for Romulus. We on the uprise. So, but if we come together as a whole, we can keep it going, and we will draw these students back in. The other questions I have, well, that was my main thing right there. You know, how are we going to do to bring our school back is my main question, but to get that answer now, it's not going to happen. But that's what we need. But as a group on one accord, we can do that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you again for joining us tonight and coming back and interviewing with us.
That again.
Oh, you took them last time. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
Yes, you can go ahead and sit there, and those are the questions that we'll be going through. First of all, welcome. Thank you for being with us tonight and for showing an interest in serving in the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education. We will go through and introduce ourselves, and each board member will ask you 2 questions. We'll follow that sheet, and then at the end, after we have asked all of our questions, if you have any for us, feel free to ask them. So, in opening, my name is Debbie Piles. Yes, you can remove that, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I've had both my vaccinations, plus I had the COVID, so I'm pretty
Oh, wow.
good.
So my name is Debbie Piles. I'm president of the Board of Education. I've been a board member for 4 years. I'm going into my 5th. I have 2 children still in school, both enrolled in the district. And I love this district. I love the community, I love the people in it, and it is truly a passion and a privilege to serve in this capacity. Our first question, tell us about yourself, and if appointed, what will be your priorities? Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Education?
First of all, I've been very, very active in the community for the last 40 years. Okay, I sat on the city council for 16 years. I was on the Housing Commission for 3 years. I served the Romulus community with the People's Community Hospital Authority, which I was the vice chairman of. We merged with Oakwood Hospital. I was on the board of directors of Oakwood Hospital. And from there, I kind of took off a little bit, and Dr. Lassane, who was assistant superintendent here, started up this health clinic in Inkster and asked me if I would take it over, okay, as the chairman, because he said if he left it to the politicians in the Inkster community, they would run it dry, okay? And so anyway, because it's quite lucrative with grants and things of that nature. So I took over as chairman in 2010. And that year we saw 4,000 patients, and we did like 650,000 of revenue. Last year, I'm proud to say, we have 4 facilities. We've seen 90,000 patients, and we grossed $19 million. Okay, and I got to take a little bit of credit for that. So anyway, we're in the right direction. I got the right CEO. And so that's a little bit about I had 3 children, all graduated from Romulus High School. Fact is, I was just talking to the other lady in there that my son played football with her brother, okay, back in the 90s. So my priorities, okay, I'm a businessman, okay, first of all. And whatever business decisions have to be made, you know, I pride myself in doing it right. Example, when I took over the clinic, we had a contractor that wanted to sell us a building for $1.5 million. I found an old building over in Inkster, 29,000 square feet. I bought it for $510,000. The night before we closed, somebody stole all of our air conditioning units, so we got all brand new air conditioning units and that. So anyway, there's always a good side to a bad side. My priorities are within the school district to get us back, which I call getting the pride back into this community and getting the pride back in the school system, because this is a great school system. We have great people in this community. And anyway, that is my priority, you know. And believe it or not, with all due respect, if I get on the board or if I don't get on the board, I'm still going to work for those issues, you know.
Great. Thank you very much.
So.
I am Judy Kennard, and I have question number 2.
Good.
So question number 2 is, what do you see as opportunities and challenges in this district?
Well, what I see as opportunities in this district is probably something that, with all due respect, this board doesn't really realize. And that's the way the city has negotiated the Tiffin district and is taking money from this school district to fund the Romulus Rec Center. Okay? I would do something about that. As I said, I'm a business person, and I would know how to handle that. But they're sitting on $9 million of cash over here, you know, to service politicians. I don't think so. It's for this community. It's for economic development. And the economic development was supposed to come into the city and the school system, not just the city. So I got kind of loud on that one. I didn't mean to, but that's a passion of mine right now.
That's quite okay.
Great.
But thank
Pardon
you.
me?
That's quite okay, but thank you very much for answering that question.
Hi, I'm Sue Evans. Welcome. I have question number 3. What qualifies what qualities do you exemplify that are aligned with the vision of the district? And secondly, what would you expect the superintendent to provide to the board in weekly updates or meetings in order to further that mission?
Well, I think your superintendent's just like a CEO of a regular corporation. They are to, in fact, inform this board of things that are going on in the community, such as your financial situation going on here. If we have a problem with grades or with educator, that you need to know that so you can address those problems. So.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Bergeron. I'm Ursula Wester. Thank you for coming out. I have question number 4. What is the responsibility of an individual board member, the board as a whole, and the superintendent?
The responsibility of an individual board meeting is to bring information back to each other so we're all on the same page. So you can work on the same problems that you're having within a particular sector of the, of the district. The board as a whole, obviously, is just like a board, board of directors of a corporation. They take the data that comes in and adopts policy and procedure, and then you turn it over to your superintendent, who is your CEO, and make, requests that they act on that. So, I think that answered that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Denisa Terrell. When do you believe the board needs to make a decision versus the superintendent?
I didn't quite understand that one. I'm sorry.
When do you believe the board needs to make a decision versus the superintendent making a decision?
Well, the superintendent works for you, okay? And the superintendent, in fact, goes on the direction of the board of, your board of directors, which is your board here. And so therefore, you don't hire a superintendent to come in there and run that district himself. He brings those ideas to you, and then you act upon those ideas and, adopt policy and procedure based on that. And then you give that policy procedure back to the superintendent and make that a part of the superintendent's goal or a part of his organization or her organization. Did that answer that?
Okay, good evening, Mr. Bergeron. I'm Nicole German. I have question number 6. If the board is presented with a potential district program, describe what you look for to decide if it should be implemented.
Well, I think at this point in time that we should be trying to educate these children, not only from a college standpoint, but a skilled trade standpoint. And I had been working on trying to put together a joint venture with it was none of my business, but with Romulus and Inkster, because they have a teaching facility in Inkster. We have students in Romulus that are taking care of that, and then I have friends that own businesses on the other side of the airport in the trucking area said that they'd be more than happy to donate money to the district, to take care of that because they can't find any help. So that's what I would do. I think, from an educational standpoint, I think that what you have is sufficient, but I think that we need to go into that other area. So.
Thank you. We are on number 7. Given all the issues that arise, how can the board stay focused on student achievement?
That's a toughie, but, you know, you just have, you know, there are priorities. That's why you're here, you know? You're there, you know, to provide those students with, a focus and to back them up on their achievement, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. You know, we all have different, levels of education in our life and opportunity for each one. And I think that every one of these children have an opportunity no matter what it is. It may not necessarily be college, okay? But they have an opportunity to make something of themselves. And, yeah. Starting to lose my voice.
Okay, question number 8. When is it appropriate for a staff member to come to a board member or the entire board with a concern?
Well, I'll tell you what, I encourage employees at our health center to come to me as the chairman of the board. Okay, I then in fact go back and talk to those situations with our CEO, which would be your superintendent, and that to come up with a resolution. Okay, but it has to be talked about. Okay, and if it's a major problem, then you bring the rest of the board in, but you try to, you know, you try to get it solved as quickly as possible. You know, and that's by policy, procedure, or whatever. Somebody just may be angry, like the young lady that was mad at our bowling coach, which is my golf partner. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Ms. Terrell?
How would you determine budget priorities?
Well, obviously, that's kind of a hard one to discuss when, you know, I haven't actually looked at the budget. But, you know, all budgets have to be solid with income. The expenses have to be, you know, written down so that you have the balance that you can make decisions with. Make my, sorry. But that, you know, that's how you make your priorities, and then when, you know, when you sit down with a group of people, your superintendent, or, you know, if they bring department heads in there, then the board, I think, then talks with each other to determine, sorry about that, you know, to determine what the priorities are of the board and of the district.
Thank you.
Number 10. What changes should be made on the state and local level regarding public education?
Well, I think funding is obviously one of the biggest concerns. And how, you know, they slice the dollars up, you know, to come to a district, you know, there's always more money, and everybody always wants to throw money at you know, at issues and that, you know, and as I told you earlier, you know, one of my goals is that, you know, instead of the city of Romulus getting all this money, I think the school district should get their part of these funds. And I'll give you an example. Back when I was on the city council, our mayor couldn't negotiate with a man that owned the parking lot over called Airlines Parking. Okay, he wanted to put a road there. So you know where all those hotels are in the Bob Evans? Well, she couldn't negotiate that with him. I went in there and negotiated with him. He put the road in, we paid for it with the TIFA funds, and it was paid off in 2.5 years. So what did the city do? They wrapped in that TIFA and put it all over down here, down to, Eureka Road, and made this whole development area in this TIFA, so all the increase in tax revenue goes to the city, to this fund. So, but anyway, yeah, but that's, from my standpoint, that's how you finance it. You get a project going, you pay for it, and you're done with it, and you let everybody's get in on the profits.
Okay, number 11. What do you think should be done to recruit students who reside within district boundaries but are not attending Romulus Community Schools?
That's a tough one. I've been fighting that one for a while, without even, this. Asking people what the heck's wrong with them to move their children out of this community. It's ridiculous. And I'm good friends with Pastor Willis. I don't know if any of you know him, over on Vinewood, the Pentecostal church. He said when the state, and I agree with him, when the state changed the boundaries, let's say with Inkster, okay? What they should have done is should have had a public hearing and brought people together, invited them in to a coffee at that, and let these, and I'm just gonna put it the way it is, let these white people within our community meet these black people that aren't bad people, but and merge them together. But it was shoved down their throat, and I think that scared a lot of whites, and they moved out. So I think what we have to do is we have to have an educational arm that we bring these together. Because in my opinion, I was brought up on the north side of town. I went to Beverly Elementary School. There was one white kid in my class in the 3rd and 4th grade, and that was me. Okay, so children have no race problems, okay? And so that's what we got to get back over to the adults.
Okay, last question. Can you hold the superintendent accountable for student success and staff performance? How would you accomplish it?
Well, I don't think you can, I don't think you can make them accountable for student success, but I do think you can make them accountable for staff performance, because that's his job to be able to put together a management team to take care of all these. And how you would accomplish it would be that, he would have to do I'd say a report once a month or once every month or once a quarter about what's going on in that, because you're obviously hearing different gossip from the community, if not gossip, different facts from different people that aren't happy, And so anyway, that's I think a good conduit for information.
Thank you. That wraps it up for all the questions we have for you. Do you have anything that you would like to ask the board?
No, I've been around a while, and I'm not being a smart aleck with you. Back in my day, Dr. Bedell was the superintendent. I had lunch with him every once or twice a week, and then Joel Carr was in there. I know the system very, very well. I was a part of it. Dr. Bedell told me years ago, he said, Pete, believe me, I'm going to be dead before they find out how I screwed up the finances at Romulus. And by God, he is dead.
And now you're telling it. Mr. Bergeron, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much, and your energy was much appreciated as well. We will bring the candidates back in and tally the scores, and we will take a 5 to 10-minute recess.
1926.
1926.
19, like add all these numbers.
Oh, 19 plus 26.
Plus 34. Plus 46. Plus 57. That can't be right.
No, because that doesn't include Denise's, she's number 6.
Okay, what number is that?
Where is she, is this one we're doing?
Yeah.
So she would be number 6 here, so she's 39.
Okay, plus
Plus
39.
39. That didn't work. 39 plus what did we say?
182.
221?
I need to, because I hadn't added that sheet, but that's why I want to go on through these, some of these, okay. 28. Now, is this Denise? 28.
So another 20?
Yes.
Mhm.
21. I should use Judy's highlighter. 24. 39. 29. Judy, is there a stapler up there? What, that's the total.
169?
And then we need, okay, ready, okay, what's Denise? Okay, 20, 47. Okay, 20, 27. 54. 52. 21. Okay. Sue, would you grab a stapler, please? Okay, where's Denise? 25. 34, no, just a stapler.
In my office too, on my desk.
41. 45. 25. 33, and I don't remember if I gave you the missing number. I have 213 and then 203. Yes, please.
You got it. Yeah.
25. 34. Staple. 49. 45. 33. We need one more. So this is Denise, right? 31. You want me to take it back? Yeah.
That's okay, I'm in.
30, I'm sorry.
I got 31.
57. 27. 43. 24. I don't see this. Oh, 25. We are really close, that's why I wanted to. be sure first. And what's your average? Okay, he's 213, he's 203. How many in your class?
Inside the class, student? Is that for kindergarten too? No, kindergarten, we jump forward, kindergarten, back, and years over, and something else.
Let's say,
Bergeron.
here we go.
All right, where's Bergeron?
So we got,
Okay, Joe.
okay, here we go, ready? Now, do you want to check hers or hers?
Yeah, do you want just?
Do you want-
Okay. Each sheet, check it.
Okay.
Okay.
So we've got
wanna
19,
check and go
this is
down
the one
to-
that wasn't 21, okay, 2, yes, yes.
Okay.
2. Until count. 1, 2, 3,
Will you grab me my water bottle, please?
Okay, we got it, 34.
Oh, is this one mine, is this one mine or yours?
You want me to like pour it for you?
I thought it was Paula's, and I'm.
Oh, we're going with
Yeah,
26?
'cause I'm- yeah, 'cause I'm
Oh,
writing them
gotcha,
all.
yeah, right,
I've
okay.
written all of those.
Okay.
Four,
learned his name
5, 4,
probably 3 weeks into school
5,
because the teacher.
4, 3.
And then
Number 3,
was a nickname.
4, 5,
And then the dad brought in
4, 2.
maybe little sister.
36?
Yes.
She didn't know her name and she was pretty.
Did we just say 46? 5,
And then I came in with
Five.
an infant and I go, you better have this one's name now.
2 5s.
Oh, 2 5.
5.
Is that
3,
something?
5.
Another one?
Yes.
4?
5, 4, 4, 5, 5, 4, 5, 5.
That's it?
Yes.
57?
And hopefully the bus driver knew where they picked them up. But this was a daily thing, you know? So what was it, 4 or 5 or 6?
What was that number you had?
57?
Okay. Let's try
Nice
this
kid,
again.
really nice kid. You know, mom and dad.
Okay, now the only thing is you're missing Denise's school.
Oh,
Because you got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
did she text it to you?
Uh-huh.
Okay, sorry. I don't want to blur
Okay.
them. I can't.
Who are we doing here? David Jones, okay.
And he calls kids down from the rooms until they have.
Let's see here, David Jones.
Okay, ready? Perfect, yes.
Okay.
4,
Yeah, it's thinking.
3, 4,
I had a grandma one
3,
time show up in a bathroom.
4, 3, 3,
And the
2,
teachers are lined up
3,
laughing at me.
3, 4.
I said, you
Three.
do not come back in this
We
building.
might do that one.
39?
I called the net.
Let's do that one more time, okay?
Okay,
Just
yeah.
because it turned on me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Make sure we got 12 digits too.
Yep.
'Cause- Okay, first one out, you had 11. I might have pretzel.
These lights make me, like,
Oh.
I've got, I don't know, 4, 3, I'm sorry, 4,
Oh, okay, 4.
3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3.
39?
That's what we had. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Some pretzels would be good. Okay, 19, 26, 34, 46, 57, 39.
221?
So don't, yes.
Is that what we got for him? No, I have, let me, you want me to go get one?
Yes, because that'll help.
I have one bag of pretzels, anybody want them?
I do, please.
I got one for you, Debbie. Anybody else?
No, thank you.
I ate sugar cake all weekend and no food today, and with these overhead lights, I feel like, okay. I just want to hide it first. This is better.
So is that,
Oh, no, no. Let's get rid of this.
okay.
For now, yeah.
Were you, did you supposed to?
John is, what was that total fee? 212, yes, 212.
Tracy, I think Tracy was the secretary.
4, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 2. Please tell me that 27. Hang on, I'm not off my camera. Cover this one. 5.
Another 5?
3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5.
55?
Let's do it again, so that's 54. 5, 5, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5.
55?
Okay, 55. See, why did I have a 49 right there? Let's say this one more time. 5, 5, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4.
Four,
5, 5, 5. Here, you say them and I'll read them.
5. Five. 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 5, 5,
Okay.
5.
That's what you find.
Okay, you know what, I bet I didn't.
I feel like
This is. You need some pop or something?
I can, you know what, I can just ask where is that, so when I'm get it, let's focus on this. Yeah, okay.
You mean, juice?
Yeah, that'd be okay. I just feel like the floor is moving.
All right.
Judy?
Judy?
I need you to help her do 2. It's down to 2, I need you to help Paula. I feel like I really, it's a tie, pass, I don't know. That it shouldn't have come on, but the floor is moving. Did you eat today? I didn't. But I feel like it's more than that, I could go Sunday and go there. No. And it's the lights too, that they can feel it.
Vertigo.
Yeah.
You have vertigo.
I know, but I have episodes that I like that. Like I feel like shaky, nauseated, and depression.
Okay, so we're just re-adding here. If we get 2, we can get our 10.
I have a protein. You want this protein?
Your face is
That one right there should be done.
Like this.
Similar to these are total numbers. So this one here, this is okay, the first person. Did she take the ones off the floor? Did Debbie take the score, did you take the scores off the floor?
I just moved those out of the way, the one that we didn't.
That's just the one. All right, so let's do it this way. Okay. What do you want me to do? First person. You actually paste it round, cover line. Okay, Debbie, let me have those. We're gonna check them all. Yeah, I want to keep calling you.
No circulation.
Okay, well, I'll call you Tuesday.
My head and stomach spinning at the same time as the pulse and the
And that over there is number 5, okay. All right, so we're gonna do it this way. The first person's gonna be Darcy. Okay, all of Darcy. Here. So this is everybody's. You say the name except for Denise's is the last number. So in this case, she's 28. Okay, so this is Denise's right here. No. Oh, yeah. So Denise's are on my phone. Okay. Okay, so you want Denise's? Okay, good. Well, you just give me the numbers. The last, first one. Yeah, but, okay, so you want Denise's numbers?
No, I think she meant the whole.
Okay, we don't do it. Okay, what's Denise's number? Okay, for Darcy. 2, 3, 3. 2 plus 3 plus 3. 1, 1, 2, plus 2, 3, plus 3, 3, plus 3, 4, plus 4, 2, plus 2, 2,
And you know
plus
what I
2,
had to cover the column
plus
and
2,
number of questions?
28. Is that what we had?
I was reading the two columns,
Okay, so this
no,
is,
wait, I had to
it was Denise. Okay. The next person is York. So we still in Denise, so her next person is. Oh, okay, so Zaki. For Denise, numbers are 2.
I kept on wanting the rest of these for applesauce. My friends.
3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 3 plus 3
Putting up
3
everything down for
plus
family, it's like
2
your phone was, everything been rated as well.
2 plus 2 plus 2 2 2 plus 2.
I don't think you
Oh,
use egg.
31.
But egg doesn't make stuff moist.
Right. Okay, that's what I got.
The one who's dressed in all black.
Okay,
He knows
Darcy,
about them.
Darcy. Wait, I need to
Looking
write this
like my
down.
single dog with his.
Darcy, Darcy.
And great
The
picture.
second person is Zaki.
Are you kidding me? It didn't take.
I got 31. Do we need to do it again? No, that's what I had too.
Kidding me?
Okay, well, okay. So who's next?
These come along with it.
Hamburger.
I love the. What is the number even here?
Okay, 2. 2 plus 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 2. 3 plus 2. 1 plus 1. 3 plus 3. 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2.
I'll just call my cousin.
I did that one. Yep.
Judy bought an everything.
I hear you talking about me.
We are. I said Judy for the magazine. She used to join us virtually. Forget the channel.
Okay, Jones. Okay, Jones is that. Okay, 4. Okay, 4. 3 plus 4. 4 plus 4. 3 plus 3. 4 plus 4. 3 plus 3. 3 plus 3. 2 plus 2.
I'm telling you,
3
it's the lights.
3
Because Meyer
Four.
has a type of lighting
3.
that sometimes it goes there. If it was the floor is moving, I really think it's.
Brad Jones, where is he?
And then here it happens to me. The only
Is he over
place
there?
where it happens. I don't know why Edmondson is always like this. There's no in between. There's no in between. I like that chair. I was higher.
Okay, so that leaves us with
Do you
Bergeron.
remember? I was down there. You had to lean back. You and I both caught
Okay,
him.
1.
You and I were
1.
sitting next to each other. Yes.
2.
And he read, and you
1
read, and Judy read, and I was
3
like,
plus 3. 2
I don't know how the minutes were
1
up in the air.
2
Because I thought he was
Two.
going over.
plus 2. 2 plus 2. 1.
I sit there, you had to lean back, but he's very tall too, so
Okay, so I
his
got-
weights are here.
So this is all what Terrell. So
Okay, so the first page is 3, 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1, 3 plus 3, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 3 plus 3, 3 plus 3, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 1 plus 1. Okay, want to do Darcy again? Or another person? No, we just won't stick to that. Okay, so who's next? Darcy is Zafra. Okay. Okay, she is, ready? Yeah. 5, 4 plus 4, 5 plus 5, 4 plus 4, 4 plus 4, 5 plus 5, 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 5 plus 5. 17, yep. Okay, and after Rakeem, you ready? Yeah, ready. 2, 4 plus 4, 2 plus 2, 4 plus 4, 3 plus 3, 3 plus 3, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 3 plus 3, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 2, 3 plus 3. Very important. Yeah. Okay, now how did you guys have it? These 1, 2, 3. Oh, you taking it from there. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay. And Jones. Jones. Okay. All right. Ready? Yeah. 2, 3 plus 3, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2. Okay, now see, this one is hard to tell what this is.
Maybe, I think, probably the beginning of June. It's a quick turnaround.
Oh, that's a wash. That was in it, okay. Okay.
That's at our school.
So 1 and 1. Yep. I said you guys had 19, that's what you viewed it as. Yeah, I know, sometimes it's hard, it's like, oh, okay, what is that? Okay, so now Bergeron. Okay, when you're ready? Go ahead. 3, 5 plus 5, 4 plus 4, 4 plus 4. 5 plus 5, 4 plus 4, 5 plus 5, 3 plus 3, 4 plus 4, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3. 4 to 7. So that should be our next group, 5.
And you know what, today's the last day before 14, we always go last day, whatever.
Okay, so now. What's our board number? What's our number? Okay, now wait a minute here, what do you have in here? Why do we have 28? Darcy?
I know my kids are like,
Jeff Darcy, 28, Terrell. Oh, okay, and then the first page. Okay, so now we're going to the second page. Okay. Ready? Yeah. 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2. 21. Okay, ready? 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 1 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 4. 27. Heimberger. 5, 5 plus 5, 4 plus 4, 3 plus 3, 4 plus 4, 4 plus 4, 3 plus 3, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 2, 4 plus 4. 41. And Jones. Ready? 2, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 2, 2 plus 2, 1 plus 1, 4 plus 4, 2 plus 2. 26. 26 and 27. You want to do it again? Yeah. 26. Okay, ready? 3. 1 plus 1. 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. 4 plus 4. 3 plus 3. 2 plus 2. 3 plus 2. 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1. 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. 26. Okay, so that's okay, let's see here. My highlighter did the 21. Okay, so we got page, so now on page 3, so we have 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 4, and 2. Yep. And Kleinberger. 5, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 4, 4, 5, 4, 4, 5, 4, one more sheet. Yeah, 'cause we should have 6 total, right?
Right, you should have,
Yep.
right, okay.
We got 5, yeah, we got one last sheet.
Oh, I was wondering, I was like,
Okay.
okay, so this ain't no, this number ain't cool, okay. Okay, give me another number.
Okay, so Darcy, last page, 5,
5
2,
plus 2
1,
plus 1
1,
plus 1
2,
plus 2
2,
plus 2
2,
plus 2
4,
plus 4
2,
plus 2
3,
plus 3
3,
plus 3
2.
plus 2. 20.
I got 29.
Right, yeah, that's
Okay, so, a couple numbers are scratched out here, but okay.
those are yours.
1, this looks like a 2,
Yep.
and a 2. Okay, all right. 5, 2, 1, 1,
Plus 1
2, 2,
plus 2
2,
plus 2
4,
plus 4
2,
plus 2
3, 3, and 2.
plus 2 plus 2.
29. Okay, that's what I got. Okay.
So the first thing we'll have will be 29.
Okay.
Well, the incoming kindergartners, you could come in for a half a day. And so
taking that my shiny digital. Kitchen sink. Because I'll turn it and it goes in it like this, yeah.
Here, you might want to write it on a newspaper. My dad, I'm not sure what my dad still uses a flip phone. He knows where the keys are because all the letters are falling off. I'm like, Dad, nobody, he can't send a picture text. He takes pictures, but he can't send them, he doesn't have.
My dad won't even text. He did for a little bit.
Sort of confirmed.
And then I'm leaving, yeah, she's just in fun. Yeah, we did one again. Then that one last.
It's easier with the state.
So that way they're all together.
But it has a disc on the bottom that you
So,
pop up.
Judy, do you want this?
Yep, that is in full space.
Are we doing breakfast Saturday?
Do you have an instant pot or brunch or, they have a 6-inch? They have an instant pot.
I was going to talk to Ben because I had a mental note.
Two birds of cream cheese.
I'm starting there.
Yeah. And it, you know, it's the same type of pan. The bottom comes out, yeah. They,
I think I'm gonna see if Bill can just put these on a light switch because they.
yeah, it's just perfect, it's this big.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish I would have followed
You can use numbers across. Okay, just put the numbers across, this right here. Okay, we should be getting this right here. Six. Okay, so 143, 185.
Take it too long because my head was
185, 141, 201, 186, 165, 3, 185, 141, 186, 165. Is that right? What are these numbers here? This one, this is, each one of these rows starts with a 13. This is the total right here. The bottom number? All this stuff I get, we're supposed to add up to that. 851? I'm getting another number now. Okay, so we have 143. 143. 185, 185, 141, 141, 201, 186, and 165. All right, so now, once you go across the top, and then down here too? Yep. So it's the first one. Okay. Okay, Darcy. Okay. 28, gone. 28, 21, 24, 39, 29.
They've got a camera.
Okay, now the only thing is, I think are these off here? So Darcy is this first one here? And
This is
Jackson
actually,
would be
we
the
want to
next
see a
one.
picture of like Nicole's, it's a profile rather than our face.
Okay.
I would love one like
So
Nicole's.
the next person is Aki. 31, 57,
I want mine, I want.
27,
I hate that picture.
43,
It's like I weigh 500 pounds.
24, 25.
It's a pandemic.
It looks
That's it.
terrible, but just the face. No, do the profile, back up a little bit. Like
Feinberg.
Nicole's.
57. Tonight? Tonight, okay. Debbie? We might have to order a pizza.
Oh, no, we're gonna make some cookies.
Oh. You're gonna make some cookies?
So why don't we just have those two come in and just talk to us? Say what we got. Anything you want to say.
And then what do you do?
And then
Go
we'll
again.
vote. And then I guess.
We do another.
No, we'll just all vote for somebody.
What I'm saying, you take the sheets, you give everybody one sheet. And then you totally tally it up.
Okay.
There, I do it, so.
Okay.
Let them
Let them just talk. Let them talk on the district, what they see the need, why they want to be, they can just tell us. Because right now, I just want to know if one EMT, because they're still, I get a big one. No, I want to know one EMT, because I seriously know my kid, I seriously feel like I'm going to pass out.
What, did you drink
I'm
something?
drinking and eating, but these lights are like really.
So turn the lights off above
Let's
you
just
guys.
bring them in and have them
Okay.
talk.
Did you drink some of that juice?
I did.
Let the board know what's going on.
Yeah, you might, but we're fine, so you might want to follow that.
Okay. Oh,
Okay, so two, you go back to. What's the story going, water side?
okay.
So, so let's just bring those two back in and let them talk.
And then what do we do?
Paula, you want to, the other candidate.
I can print some. Okay.
Okay, so my question is, what do we do? They're bringing two people back.
Three, two. All right, you let the other ones know that they going to talk to her right now. We're gonna,
Do you want me to ask them to step in back in the lobby while you talk to Denisa?
well, we're live. I have to wait on everybody, so you guys can just have a seat. This is a first. Okay. Well, I could just tell her, but that's fine. So we are still currently recessed. We will be resuming our meeting within 5 minutes. That's so weird, because look, I'm showing you standing up and you're sitting down. That's the delay. Wow, we have 12 people watching. Sorry about the time. I know, there's a delay. This is what the...
You got to be kidding me.
I've got a full slab, we got a pit out back. That's what we were doing.
Okay?
Can I interest anybody in your peppermint patty?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I'd have this late hour of the day.
I'll take one of those.
Have a couple.
No, I'll take two.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I did. My cousin sent it to me. So this was here looking for an applesauce cookie recipe. I wish we could turn off some, because really, this the fluorescent that's in
Yeah.
something.
I used to, check. I used to have to take every other one out in my office.
I've been whipping his butt for 60 years. Huh?
You lied.
You're not mic'd and you're not in the pictures.
Okay.
We grew up together.
I've known him since he was in kindergarten. Hmm? So you cut that off.
No, once we're streaming, we're streaming.
You know, where to put it down, and then not do it, that's all. Oh, there was this one, there was one. Oh, no, look, she
Yeah, that is too much.
For the 12 people who are still with us watching live on YouTube, thank you. So this is a first. We have a tie between two of our candidates, Mr. Jones and Mr. Bergeron. So what we will do is, let me pull up the wheel. We'll pick in random order. And what we will do is give you each 5 minutes. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, let's see, Jones. All right, here we go. Mr. Bergeron, you will go first. So, Mr. Jones, we will allow you to enjoy our nice facility down the hallway for another 5 more minutes.
I can do that.
Okay, thank you. Sure. I guess it'll probably just be an overall score, because we don't have categories. Yep. So, Mr. Bergeron, what we will do is we will give you 5 minutes, and Ms. Kennard will watch the time. And the pandemic has, it has magnified some of our existing challenges with the achievement gap, opportunity gap. Those were pre-existing, but the pandemic has magnified those, and it's also brought to light other challenges of student needs, such as whole child, mental health, the need for equity. So just talk to us about 5 minutes, what you see the district needing, what you believe that we should be doing and can be doing, and basically the floor is yours to talk about the components as you wish. And board members, we will score on just 1 to 5. We don't have categories for this, so.
Well, it's kind of a broad statement, but what I think is going on, being involved in the health clinic, the way I am, the chairman of Western Wayne Family Health Center, which is a federally qualified program, we're trying to reach out into the communities. What I would do is I would bring up my influence with them into more of the Romulus community with our psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, in fact, to work with our community to make these students feel appreciated and to feel like they are receiving meaning from the school system. I think it's been devastating for everybody going through this pandemic. I had to stay a whole year at home with my wife, and it drove me crazy. So anyway, but don't tell her, please. But anyway, you know, those are the kind of things that I think that I could, you know, bring to the community. You know, and I don't like talking about myself because but I have a vast amount of knowledge with people and in different places and, anyway, as issues come through, I'm a problem solver. I can, take care of those kind of issues but let me just say this, David Jones, I love him, okay? He is one of my dearest friends for a long time. So anyway, in my opinion, you're not gonna be able to make a mistake on this, okay? So I just wanted to make that clear that, this is not, I don't feel bad about either way. But, I know what I could do for the school district. I've done it for the city, and I would continue to do it for the kids in this community. As I told David, he took over the athletic boosters, okay? I said, I started it in '87 when my son was on the football team, So I know his passion, because I had that passion, so I'm just concerned how we're going to move forward with the pandemic and bringing the children back into the community and back into the system and get the teachers back on the same page with everybody. I think that you have a challenge. You definitely do. They're having it all over in corporate America. Nobody wants to come back to work. And yet, a lot of times, corporate America doesn't want them back to work because now, if they work at home, I don't have to, have a parking spot for them to this and that, so we're going through some changes and it's gonna be tough. As a financial planner, I'm looking at that all the time because, I'm looking at interest rates and what equities are doing and so on and so forth. So bringing all that in together, we have issues, but you know what? We can beat them. We can beat the issues. We got to stay positive, and we got to continue to tell the kids we love them. So.
Thank you, Mr. Bergeron.
Well, he has one more minute.
What?
1 minute,
I,
if there's anything else you
I'm pretty much, I think I'm pretty much talked out. Whatever you do, I support you. I love Romulus. As I said, I've been here my whole life, and, anyway, whatever I can do, I'll do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Welcome back, Mr. Jones. So we are going to give you 5 minutes. Ms. Kennard will watch the clock. We were talking about, there were challenges already in our district with the achievement gap, opportunity gap with our students, but the pandemic has really magnified that and caused even a greater disparity between groups of students. There's also, it's also magnified the need to focus on whole child and mental wellness and all the components of that and equity. So if you would just take 5 minutes, it's a very broad topic. You can speak on it as you wish. You have 5 minutes.
The controversy in the school, especially from the pandemic, we brought us to a different level we've never been. We have to get out and reach out and kind of find a different way to approach these situations because Now, where we was always together, we're not. We had to, the people done got separated, and then done got other habits. Now we're gonna have to bring a way to bring kids back to school, parents, and to be able to get people to be together, because Corona has changed all our lifestyles. We are, the problems we have had, yes, they have magnified due to the fact of other separation and not having that personal contact. People have became in, the social aspect of it has totally changed. They're more to themselves now. They develop other, with electronics, you know, we don't have that personal contact, that camaraderie of being close anymore. So now we're gonna have to come up with a way to be able to get our point across and get our message across to the students and the parents, what we bring back, and it's gonna be a community thing. We have always, you know, you've always had in some type of division, you know, that's human nature. But the key of it is being able to overcome, seeing what we have and making it, coming up with a way to make it work. Instilling the values and the importance of what we have and bringing that back together, bringing us together to be able to work together as a whole, as a community. The board, you know, the board governs, superintendent do the running. You know, we set policy, superintendent makes it happen. So we, along with the superintendent, we have come up and make this thing work. So now, like I said, with the pandemic, things weren't the same as far as even down to the eating, incomes in homes, all has changed this year. And now, as a group, we had to come up with policy to make this thing happen where we could bring our people back together throughout our community.
Thank you.
Well, you have a couple of more minutes if you'd like to, or are you completed?
Well,
It's fine if you are, we don't want,
yes, because, I mean, you could say the same thing over and over. And to me, it still boiled down to the simple fact that it's what we need is,
sure. Thank you very much, Ms.
okay.
We will recess for 5 minutes. Ms. Terrell? Just make sure you submit your scores to Paula.
Sorry?
Make sure you send your scores to Paula.
So I didn't get the instructions. I didn't hear instructions. I know that we're down to 2,
Yes,
but
so
what scores?
rate them on 1 to 5.
Same score scale,
Yes, 1 to
Yes,
5.
ma'am.
1 score, yes.
1 to 4?
1 to 5.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Is it right? These are the numbers?
Yep, I did it twice.
Okay.
Did it twice.
Are they still here? Look at this. We have 12 watching, 5 thumbs up and a thumb down. We are back, and the two of you are having a lot of fun tonight together. Okay, so again, thank you both. We have not had this before, where it has come down to this. Thank you both for your interest and your enthusiasm, and for being genuinely committed to the community and the district, and most importantly, the students of Romulus Community Schools. So, at this point, I move that the Board of Education appoint Pete Bergeron to the vacant seat on the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education. Is there support?
Support.
Roll call?
Evans,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Lester, yes, Piles.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Jones, again. Class act right there. Class act. And congratulations, Mr. Bergeron. We're glad to have you. And, okay, we will swear you in, and then we will adjourn. So, you can come up here. I'm going to get a photo of it. Paula.
Paula is.
Yes. You can, yep, stand right there.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of member
of the office of member
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
of Romulus Community Schools,
of Romulus Community Schools,
Wayne County, Michigan,
Wayne County, Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
You are sworn in. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome. So you go by Noah or Pete?
Okay.
Pete, congratulations, Pete. Welcome aboard. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Support.
Support.
Roll call.
Sherman,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Lester, yes, Piles,
Yes.
9:43.